welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Jessica, and you can also find me on my blog, maydaycrafts.com, where I post all my card making and art projects. The link is in the description below. Today I'm watercoloring with the 36 pan Kuretake Gansai Tambi watercolors. These paints are easy to work with, and the colors are very vibrant. This card is for the Color Throwdown Challenge, and the colors for this week are red, pink, and gray. Great colors for the upcoming Valentine's Day. But your project does not have to have that theme. It can be anything you like. I'm mixing the white paint in with the black to create my gray color, and also using a bit of white to lighten up that pink. I'm mixing these paints directly onto my acrylic palette and using a scrap piece of white cardstock so that the colors of the paint show more true. I have this roll of masking tape from a local hardware store. I find that it holds the paper down a little better than washi tape, especially when you're wetting the entire piece of watercolor paper. But I have used both, and they both work. Here I accidentally dunked my sleeve in the red paint, and it got all over my hand, and then of course on my paper. To fix that, I just use water to spread it out. I'm using colors that play well together, so it wasn't a big deal. I usually get paint everywhere. I like to use a clipboard because I had it on hand, and it's a great size for my desk and small enough to move it when I need to. The paper that I'm using is Tim Holtz watercolor paper. I like to use the smooth side of this paper, especially if I'm stamping on it. The other side is quite textured and harder to get a clean stamped image. I used a bit of clean water to wet my brush and then apply it to the paper in areas that I want to add a second layer of color. I'm just going around and adding more layers and more colors. Just keep adding in more colors to cover up the white, except for the white in the middle. I want to preserve that. The brush I'm using is one that I found at Craft Warehouse, a local craft store here in the Pacific Northwest. It's a Connoisseur 357 Sable Mixed Round number 8. I've also have the Royal Langnickel Zen series brushes, but not in this size. Though the Royal Langnickel brand is really nice and it's very easy to find. Now here I'm just adding more layers and trying to use up most of the paint and blending colors together. I wanted to add some gold and shimmer to this piece, and the Gansai Tambi set has a few options for that. The bottom three are all shimmers. I prefer the darker gold one rather than the yellow gold, but that's all just preference. That's what I prefer. I'm laying the gold down mostly where the colors blend together and up from the corners of the paper. I'm going for more of a marble-ish kind of look. My in-laws gifted me the Tim Holtz stamp platform for my birthday. Thank you guys. So with that, I have the large Lucky script from the Concord and 9th Lucky stamp set, and I'm stamping it with VersaFine Onyx Black ink so I can heat emboss it. I don't have black embossing powder, so I'm using the black pigment ink and clear embossing powder. I usually have a piece of scrap paper to catch the embossing powder, but I thought I would give the coffee filter trick a shot. I have to say it made it a little easier. I wanted the lucky word to be a little larger, so I adjusted my paper down and stamped and heat embossed it again. It just makes the text a little thicker. Setting that piece aside, I grabbed a scrap piece of black cardstock that I'm going to heat emboss with white embossing powder to finish the sentiment on the front of this card. I'm using the Tonic 6-inch guillotine paper cutter and trimming off the black cardstock that I don't need. Then I'm using my honeybee scissors to create a banner by simply cutting down the middle and cutting the corners on each side to the center point. I like to use the multimedia matte glue for smaller things. like this rather than my ATG gun. It's just easier, and I'm using my tweezers to help adhere the sentiment to the card. I use these all the time, and they just help me line up things better. I don't get glue everywhere like I do paint. I thought about adding sequins or dots to this, but I've realized I don't care for sequins much. So I'm going to just add a few hand-drawn little white hearts. You could also use a die cut too if you have one. My go-to white pen is the Signo gel pen. I also die cut a layered scallop frame and used the Signo gel pen to outline the lucky script. Those clips were corrupted and lost. I'm still figuring out this video editing, but here are a few pictures to show the end result. And I just want to thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and like this video if you enjoyed it. And I hope you have a great day. See you next time.